being here today. It's a full crowd, which I'm humbled by. Looks like we even had to set up some extra chairs so everyone could get a spot, so that's great. Today is really the culmination of over 2 years in the making, and I'll kind of unpack that in a little bit and talk about why we're here today. When I was a candidate for mayor, I talked a lot about an initiative that I wanted to start. I said, okay, if I get in office, roads are great, and I love them. Mark Cotter, if you're here, I love roads and all you're doing, but I don't get real passionate about roads. I get really passionate about helping people, and that's really what our community around. And we live in a incredibly generous city. Financially, the city is incredibly generous.
.org.
Whether that's Forward Sioux Falls, whether that's chamber appeals campaigns, whether that's private fundraising campaigns, we are sometimes, we refer to that as our time, talents, and our treasure. And I think Sioux Falls has always been very generous with our treasure and never been shy in stepping up in that area. But I'm always asking, how can we do more? What else can we do to make this city an even better city than it is today? And specifically, where does our city need us to do more? And I'll say that when I was a candidate running for mayor, you think you're like, okay, I'm pretty sure that's where a need is, or you get pretty good at becoming an armchair mayor and judging how the job goes and what you think you should do. And then when you actually get in the role, it's very different, and you see the needs that you didn't know existed. And you talk with people that bring up things that you wish you never had to hear and that you never had to see. And so asking those folks, what can we do to help? How can we help our city? I was just in Haiti last week. I spend a week, mayor gets 2 weeks of PTO off a year, by the way, fun fact. I spend a week every year going to Haiti. It's one of my favorite weeks of the year, and people always ask, well, what did you do there? Did you build something? Did you paint the church that's been painted 37 times already by groups that come down? And we finally just started asking those people, hey, what do you want from us? And they're like, listen, we don't need you to build us stuff. We don't need you to, raise money for us. We want you to invest in us as people. But we have access to the books and the blogs and the resources that they don't have access to. And so this last time we went down there, led by a guy named Vince Lubin with Wireless World, he led a little 3-hour course where we taught these Haitian community leaders about the principles of leadership and how to deal with conflict. And so when I came back to Sioux Falls this time and the last couple times I've gone, I've always thought, okay, how can we unite our community? Services that already exist. We got a lot of great nonprofits, a lot of great organizations. We have 100, and I'm always going to get this wrong, but I think we have 160 some churches in our city. All of which are doing good in their own different ways. We don't need to recreate any of those services, but what we do need to do is figure out how we can work together, right, and address bigger challenges. And so I kind of live by the mantra, and I've really lived by it the first 2 years: seek first to understand, then to be understood. You can't go into an organization and that has been critical for myself and for others in our office for the last 2 years to understand where the needs are in our city. And where it started was with and Brandon and Sioux Falls. How can we work together more and better? How can Minnehaha County, Lincoln County, City of Sioux Falls, how can we work together more? You'll see even in the name of this, there's no falls. This is called Sioux 52. This isn't about Sioux Falls. This is about all of us. It's about all of our entire region, all of our bedroom communities, which I know you guys hate that term if you live in Brandon and Harrisburg and T and Hartford. How can we work together? Last year, the Law Enforcement Appreciation Dinner had a speaker, former Governor Jeb Bush, Florida Governor Jeb Bush. And this mentor thing had already kind of been then maybe about a year ago now, 8 months ago, I met with the Downtown Rotary. They came to our office and they said, Paul, and what would that be? And we kicked around some different things, and we've had a couple meetings on this, and I eventually said, you know what we need? We need mentors. You got to. And some other things that are also important in our city, but we kept coming back to mentorship. So all these signs, it was evident the city was getting serious about mentoring. That I found when he was homeless, worked with him, went from being work to being a friendship to being work to being a mentorship, and we had a volatile relationship because he was a lot of work. I will be lying if I said he wasn't a reason why I decided to run for office, to help and to serve people. And ultimately Kent passed away during our mentorship period, of which we were in one of our valleys. I said, I need a break. Don't call me or text me for 2 weeks. He passed away during those 2 weeks. And it sticks with me today. Not that I didn't do more, but the impact that he had on me. Okay, a lot of times when you're a mentor, you think, yeah, there's people who really need me. They really need me to invest in them. I'll tell you, the converse is typically what happens. And that happened to me with Kent. So why do we land on mentoring? What's so important about mentoring? The city team knows I'm a data guy. I always say if we can't measure it, we can't manage it. I need data. Data, why are we making the decisions we're making? And mentoring works. Mentoring works. This is data from the National Mentoring Partnership, of which Sioux Falls was recently recognized and placed as on the map as a signature city in their called Mayors for Mentoring program. They recognize the work that's being done in Sioux Falls to encourage mentoring. This chart shows you at-risk youth who have had a mentor. They tend to engage in more positive activities. And you can see that those who didn't have a mentor have a lower chance of enrolling and graduating from college, participating in extracurricular activities at school, holding leadership positions in a club or sports team, school council, regularly volunteered in their community, over twice almost with kids who are mentored, youth who are mentored. And again, a lot of times we think of mentorship as youth. And of course, that's where a big need is with youth. But we have felons that are coming out of jail every week that need mentors. We have immigrants that are moving to our city that are opening businesses that need someone to walk alongside them and invite them to a chamber mixer and show them how to remit sales tax and work with them. Or we have single moms who are trying to figure out how to be a good mom and they didn't have the upbringing that a lot of us have. And they need someone to walk alongside them and do life with. What this chart shows you is the majority of young adults mentoring relationships lasted longer than 2 years. So this is, again, data from the National Mentoring Partnership. Very few mentorship relationships end in a year or less. And I say that, and that's important. This is what spooks most people from mentoring, is I don't have time to do this. I do not want to. It's easy for me to write a check to the Chamber Appeals campaign, and I've done my part. And please continue to write checks to the Chamber Appeals campaign. Jeff, there you go. But committing your time is what scares a lot of us, okay? We're all busy people, okay? But we can all afford to have one more relationship in our life. I'll tell you, Kent took a lot of time for me. Kent took more time than my own kids took, more time than my wife took at times. He was a lot of work. But without my relationship with him, he would have had no one. He would have had nothing. And we took a guy who was homeless on the streets to a guy who was living in housing, who I reintroduced to his mother who had disowned him, reintroduced to his kids. Important things that over the course of that 3 years that we were together, we were able to accomplish. So we have the programs in Sioux Falls. We have plenty of programs. What we need is the people. Okay? Some people have said, oh, this thing on Monday, Mayor, we don't need any more programs. Why do you have to be all high and mighty and create another program? I'm not. I'm connecting people like you and your employees with the programs that already exist. Okay? That's all we're doing. That's all this is. If you're looking for some grand master plan of what Sioux 52 about, it's connecting A with B. And we're going to show you how we hope to do that. You know, one of the great things about mentoring is it doesn't depend on your salary, doesn't depend on your age, doesn't depend on your job title, it doesn't depend on any of those things. So why Sioux 52? What do we mean by 52? First off, I got to give a nod to the team at Lawrence and Schiller who came up with this great name of Sioux 52. One, they said, take out the falls, because we had falls in there for a little bit. So we just take out the falls, because this is a regional effort. And when you say 52, you think weeks in a year. And what we need is an hour a week from people to be a mentor. 52 hours a year, hour a week. We want 520 business partners. What does that mean to be a business partner? We want 520 businesses that are willing to say, we're willing to be a mentor-friendly business. So what does that mean? I'm going to give my employees some leeway in their schedule to mentor. I'm maybe even going to give them some paid time off to do mentoring. Okay? I'm going to give them flexibility in their schedule. Someone framed up this initiative as the United Way of mentoring. And a lot of people in our community will get that. A lot of businesses are United Way businesses. They have a rally, go sign up, fill out the cards, commit to the United Way, commit to giving dollars. We're not going to be that formal, but we need businesses to say, we're a Sioux 52 business. We want to encourage mentoring. When you do performance reviews with your employees, say, I'd like to challenge you this year to be a mentor. Would you consider that? Consider being a mentor? You have the bully pulpit in your businesses to help to do that. And what we hope to achieve is 5,200 net new mentors by 2026. Why 2026? Well, if I serve 2 terms, I'll be done then, and I'll be able to measure it. But it's also a realistic goal, but it's a stretch goal. It's a goal we call BHAGs in the city, big, hairy, audacious goals. That's a lot of mentors. And there's attrition with mentors. But to my earlier point, one of the worst things you can do with mentorship is to start and then flake out. All right? Is to invest in someone and cancel on them. because a lot of people who need mentors, that's been their experience throughout most of their life. And so I'm here to just remind you that this is a commitment. It is a big thing. It is a big deal. But the benefits are so, so important. This is a phrase that I always remind people when I go to Haiti. And you see mountains of trash, and you see an unbelievable amount of poverty, and you get overwhelmed. And I always have to remind people, hey, just because you can't do everything doesn't mean you shouldn't do something. Okay? Just because you can't erase poverty in the school district doesn't mean you shouldn't start somewhere. Okay? Because the power of each person individually can create a tsunami of impact in our city. And so, as I mentioned, there's a lot of organizations in our city that do mentorship and do mentorship well. These are just a handful of them on the screen. There's many, many more. Some of the folks from these organizations have helped to shape this initiative, shape this program, basically ensuring that services aren't duplicated, that we aren't creating something that we don't need. But essentially, the program will work like this. We're going to raise the conversation on mentoring for the next several years. You're going to hear me talking about it all the time. This lapel pin's probably going to start transitioning to a mentorship pin for a while. I told someone earlier, and this is, I don't want to say a crude example, but it's an example. When Bob Barker started saying, have your pet spayed or neutered, okay? It started to be his calling card. And you saw what happened to the pets that were euthanized and the impact that that had amongst other initiatives. It worked, became his thing. I think mentoring can be our thing in the city. And I go and speak to a lot of groups, and I know you do too, and people say, how can I help our city? How can our business give back? How can our community give back? This, you can get involved with mentoring. This will be a rallying cry for our city. You know, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the role that the Downtown Rotary has played in this, and their desire to help. This is a service club that really doesn't do anything half. When they're going to go in, they go all in. They got some great young leadership, and they want to know how to pay it forward, and they want to know how to give back to their city. Mentorship is a long game. Sometimes you hear this term, it's a marathon, not a sprint. This is a long view game. And that you may never know the impact that you're having from mentorship. You may never know the impact you're having on a kid by the time you invest in them now and how that affects their life down the road. And that's hard. That's hard for a lot of us. We want to have a start. We want to have an end. We want to measure. We want to see we're at 16%. We went to 18%. Improved. Great. Check. Done. Data. Great. Mentorship is difficult. What we can measure is the number of mentors that we start to sign up, the number of hours that we see in our community. Someone said, wouldn't it be great, Paul, if Sioux Falls became known as like the city of mentors, and we have people around the country saying, how are they doing that in Sioux Falls? How have they created a zero waiting list so that if a kid is identified today in our school district, there's a mentor waiting for them. In fact, there's 5 people waiting that want to mentor that kid. Wouldn't that be a tremendous story? Instead of having waiting lists that are 1,000 and more deep right now for mentors across these organizations, which we have. So there's some businesses that have already said, listen, we're gonna commit to this initiative. We're gonna allow our people to volunteer. We're gonna be a volunteer-friendly Sioux 52 organization. Some of them are on the screen here. You saw some of those leaders. We were taking a photo beforehand. I'd like you to just give these businesses a round of applause for doing that. So again, what does it take to be a mentor-friendly business? Not much. There's no form you got to sign. Okay, the city's not going to come knocking on your door asking you to fill out a pledge card. We just need you to commit to it. We just need you to commit to this in your business or in your organization. Critical partner for us in this whole process is the Helpline Center. I have in the past year and a half come to appreciate the Helpline Center more than you realize. They are an on-demand, as needed call center that has helped us through tornado relief, has helped us through flooding, that without the 211 helpline center, the city would have to be staffing our own call center or finding another call center partner. So when we broached this subject with the helpline center, we said, you know what would be great? If people could call 211 and just say, hey, I'm Paul, 42 years old, I got about an hour a week, I have a heart for felons, I don't like kids, and, you know, this is another Paul, this isn't me. I love kids, come on. But the point of that being, then the helpline center can say, okay, yeah, here's a couple organizations that would love to have you, and triage you and connect you to existing organizations. Also at Sioux52.org, which redirects to the helpline, there's an intake form. Answer a few questions, check a few boxes, submit it, and they or the partner organization will follow up with you. So again, all we're doing is connecting them with the helpline center being the link in the middle of that. So if anybody wants to know, how do I get involved in mentoring? Key, call 211 or go to Sioux52.org, and they'll take care of the rest. Critical partner. We're going to talk to Janet in a little bit about that. What I want to do now, actually, we're going to talk right now, aren't we? Okay, following the agenda. So Janet, why don't you come up here? I want to have a conversation with Janet and with Jesse from Rotary about the Sioux 52 initiative. And while they're coming up here, and they're going to move that table, I want to read you something. This is from a magazine that I got in the mail this weekend, and I popped it open, and there was an article called "Making a Difference Through Mentoring." And it's a very hot topic right now, mentoring, because people are starting to realize the impact. And there's a paragraph in here that I thought was just an absolute home run, and it says this: the most rewarding mentoring relationships we've experienced are mutual. They're characterized by give and take that is life-giving for both parties. Instead of being hierarchical, they're grace-filled and leveling. Young people in particular do not look for mentors to tell them what to do. Okay, I've got a 14-year-old. Okay, that does not end well. But they watch closely for mentors to show them how to be. Okay, not to tell them what to do, show them how to be. Mentoring is not a one-way street, nor does knowledge flow in one direction. In fact, we've learned more about humility and trust by being vulnerable with mentees and genuinely sharing our stories than we have in some of our peer friendships. Teens are especially eager to hear the stories of our mistakes, lessons learned, and current revelations. Let your mentees see you for who you are and honor their story in return. And I think that's really important because it reinforces the two-way relationship that a mentor-mentee relationship can have. So, you guys need a mic? Okay, I'll get you one. So, Jesse is the current president of Downtown Rotary, correct? Okay, there you go. And Janet is the executive director or president? CEO. CEO. There we go. Okay, of the Helpline Center. Tell me how we got to this point with Rotary and why you guys decided to step up and help this initiative.
Sure. Well, so Downtown Rotary has nearly 300 members and one of the largest clubs in the world. And there was just a different shift in leadership. We know that our younger members want engagement, and that just looks really different to different people. And so over the last 18 months, we have been reaching out to our members through surveys, through focus groups, asking them to really share with us what engagement looks like, how did they want to be engaged, and what would something that would move them to become more engaged in the name of Downtown Rotary. We've often been called the check writing club, and while that's true, we don't write those checks in the name of Rotary, but they are all Rotarians. And so we thought, you know what, we want to make an impact. And just about that time, just so no Rotarians get the wrong idea, like Paul was doing his thing and we were doing our thing. And it collectively came together about the same time. And I just think that's one of those God winks that we're just all here trying to do the right thing, moving our city forward. And And so we put it out to a vote of our membership, and mentoring was the clear overall initiative that they asked us to move forward with. So that's kind of how we got where we are today.
And oddly enough, I mean, this wasn't planned, but Kayla, who introduced, the junior Rotarian today, is with Junior Achievement, which if you haven't ever taught JA or experienced JA, you should. It's a way to mentor youth through the school. And then even the Junior Rotarian program is a mentorship program in and of itself. So these programs exist. They exist in all kinds of different capacities. And maybe, Janet, you can talk about what you guys see and know through the Helpline Center as the need for mentors in our city based on the calls you see and the intakes that you see, but also why you guys are a logical partner to work with us on this.
Yeah, I think the Helpline Center, first of all, is very honored to be a part of this mentoring initiative. One of the missions of the Helpline Center is to connect people who want to give back in our community with those opportunities. So this is right up our alley. So every day we have people who dial 211 and want to know how they can give back to our community. So mentoring is a piece of that. And so we've tried to make that as simple as possible. I think you explained it really well. Dial 211. Our staff are prepared to take those phone calls. Or if you go online to sioux52.org, it redirects to our page. There is just super easy. You can all pull your phones out right now and do it. It seriously would take you 2 minutes to fill out the form on your phone. And then we ask just a couple of questions, and we're going to match you with one of those amazing mentoring opportunities that already exists in our community. And we've heard about a few of them that have been mentioned today on stage, but there's many others. So there is a way for everybody in this room to become a mentor and give back. And the Helpline Center itself, we're one of those business partners. We, for a long time, almost since our inception, have given our employees volunteer hours to give back in the community. And my employees can choose to use those hours to mentor, which they hope they do, or they can give back to nonprofits in a variety of other ways. But I shouldn't be sitting up here if, in fact, I was not a mentor myself. So I am a mentor, and I have been this past year, and it has been an amazing experience. I have gotten far more out of it than I've given. So I just encourage you to take a moment today and sioux52.org, go online, or just call my staff at 211.
Mm-hmm. I actually had a kid I've known for a few years. He's just finishing up college. And he's trying to find his career path, and he reached out to me and said, "Paul, would you have coffee with me?" And I said, "Yeah, sure." And went and had coffee, and we were talking about him entering the workforce, and he's trying to find a job, but it's hard. And he said, "Would you be willing to mentor me?" And my first response, I'll be honest with you, was, "I don't have time, dude. I love you. You're a good guy, but..." And then I thought, what could be a better use of my time, actually, than having coffee with this guy, once a month. And I gave him my cell, and now we're texting, so sometimes mentorship takes very structured forms, like through an organization. Sometimes it's noticing someone that you think could benefit from having someone walk alongside them, and you don't have to call it the M word. You'd be like, we should just meet for coffee once a month and just kind of connect and catch up outside of work or whatever it is. That's mentorship. It's mentorship as well. And you never know the impact that can have. So if your organization, or if there's an organization that does mentorship that's not connected with the Helpline Center, they just got to let the Helpline Center know, hey, our organization needs mentors. This is who we are. This is the type of person we need. They'll get them in their database, and they'll start matching up people with that organization. So it's really not an extremely formal process. They just have to contact the Helpline Center and say, we want to be considered for some of your mentors who are looking for opportunities to serve.
So part of what the Downtown Rotary committed to is that we wanted to reach out and find who are all these organizations in the city that mentor. And we knew we didn't have the time to do that. So we have partnered and issued an RFP with Augustana's Research Institute. Susie's here today, their lead investigator. And so we have a great document full of a lot of data that they have shared with us and that we have been able to share with the Helpline Center. with the mayor, and we'd be happy to share that with any of your organizations as well. There are so many organizations, and like you said, not this Paul, but if you don't like kids, there's a lot of other places to spend your time. And I think we just all go to youth mentoring, which you cannot discount the value in spending your time with our young people. But some of us are past that. You know, we don't have the time to do that formal structure, 1 hour every week, go have lunch with them. But we can do those maybe a little bit informal and a little bit different. And we have people going through our drug courts and now our soon-to-be mental health courts. And those folks just need somebody maybe to touch base with them and meet 1 or 2 times a month, but maybe touch base on a little more regular basis. So again, there's no wrong door to enter through this mentoring portal to really make us one Sioux Falls and to cross the threshold that we are the city that mentors, because all of you in this room have already mentored somebody in your business. If you've raised kids, Lord knows you've mentored with little reward for some of that some days. But there's just really, and thanks to Janet and her team, there really is going to be no wrong door if you go to 211.
Let's give these guys a round of applause. Thank them. Thank you, guys. I will say this. She didn't know I was going to say this, but if you're ever looking for an organization to support financially, I just can't say enough about the Helpline Center. The work that organization does, the type of difficult calls they take. They have a suicide prevention hotline. They take some of those intake calls. They deal with some tough stuff. So a tray of sub sandwiches, financial gift, anything, that's a great organization. So thank you guys, Janet, Susie, and the rest for your work. We're going to kind of to close things up here, show a video. And I want to, before I show that, thank the team at Lawrence and Schiller, who, when we first started floating this initiative, they put their hand in the air and they said, how can we be a part of this? We get it. We want to be a part of it. If we can help with production, if we can be one of the initial, partner organizations that says, hey, we want to be volunteer, mentor-friendly, count us in. We're all in. So they've given of time, talent, and treasure to make this a success. So thank you to LNS, and now let's watch this video.
The Sioux Empire is a region of opportunity, vibrant, growing, nationally recognized for a strong economy, entrepreneurial opportunities, and quality of life. Blessed with great schools, leadership, and a spirit of giving, we are lucky to live in one of the best communities in America. But while most of us are able to take advantage of the opportunities the Sioux Empire provides, there are many who need guidance but have nowhere to turn. It might be as serious as a child struggling with school, or a recently released inmate looking to re-enter society. And there are others who need assistance and don't know where to find it, like a young adult looking for a career path, or a first-time business owner struggling with a startup venture. But there is hope. You and Sioux 52. Sioux 52 is a new regional mentoring initiative encouraging a universal, significant, and long-lasting commitment to mentoring in our community.
So many people in the Sioux Empire could benefit and the entire community. And that is what Sioux 52 is all about, a program that connects those looking for mentorship with those best suited to provide it. Profit from mentorships. Studies show ex-prisoners with mentors are more likely to get and keep a job and less likely to return to prison. And mentor in our community by recruiting mentors and matching them with people who need their help. The impact of mentorship is profound.
One of my friends mentioned to me that I should think about becoming an LSS mentor. I gave it some thought and said, so what does this involve?
Questions and just kind of learning about what her life was like, and it was very eye-opening.
When I look at it, the difference it's made to him, and I think the difference it's made to me, that knowing that by giving a little bit of my time, I can make a huge difference to a young person.
That time that we have together really
For a business, I look at this and say to encourage our employees to volunteer, to help others in need. It not only lifts
one of the assumptions people have about being a mentor is that you have to do it by yourself. But that's not true. There are so many programs out there, and it makes the burden a little.
lunch with my student today, and it was a pretty amazing experience. He said, being my friend, and he closed with, I hope you will be by my side forever. That's pretty amazing. I looked at that and said, yeah. But we can all give our time.
It's an easy way to make a difference.
For you,
For me,
for the community.
for all of us.
Please support and promote the Sioux 52 initiative at your place of work by encouraging your employees to give 1 hour a week to mentoring. That's it. Just 1 hour.
Sioux 52, making our community better, one relationship at a time.
And I'm going to read you the age-old parable that we all know about the starfish that is very puzzled. The man looked at the boy and asked what he was doing. And without looking up from his task, the boy simply replied, I'm saving these starfish, sir. Fish gently tossed in the water and turning to the man said, I made a difference to that one. And that's what we want to accomplish with Sioux 52. investment of time that you're making into this, and of course the Helpline Center for being our tip of the spear and connecting mentors and mentees together. And so with that, we'd like to thank you for coming.